Good morning, students. So in the previous classes we have seen the different types of blocks that are there in embedded system. We have seen what are the different types of processors that can be used in an embedded system, different types of memories and different types of the communication interfaces in an embedded system. So today let us study about the embedded firmware. Okay. So as you all know, the embedded system will have a processor or a microcontroller. Okay. So the embedded system will sense the inputs from the external world and it has to process the signals. For that processing, okay, and also for controlling the other parts of the embedded system, we require what? A control algorithm. Okay. This program or the control algorithm which is going to be executed by the processor is called as embedded firmware. Firmware means the software. Okay. So either we can write this firmware either by using high level language such as C, or we can write it by using assembly level language. Okay. Once the program has been written, okay, I should put that program into the processor memory. Okay. So for that we need to convert the program that is written in high level language or the assembler into the hex file. So that is called as hex file creation. Once the hex file has been created, I can put that hex file into the processor memory, and the processor will be able to execute the program and generate the new outputs for the inputs that are sensed from the external world. Okay. So this is about your embedded firmware. Okay. Then the embedded systems also require certain other types of hardware circuits. Okay. So among them, the first one is the reset circuit. Okay. So initially, when I power up my embedded system, okay, the power supply will not immediately rise from 0 to high. Okay. So during that time, when the power supply is rising from 0 to high and the internal oscillator for the processor is starting, during a short period of time, I should not allow my processor to start execution. I should keep it in a reset state. Okay. So that is called as power on reset. Two such circuits for generating the reset signals are shown here. The one is shown on the left hand side and it is called as active high reset. Okay. So this circuit can be used for generating reset signals to the processors which will be reset when there is a high input, high reset signal. And the right side circuit that is shown here, it is called as active low reset. That means this circuit is going to generate a low reset signal. Okay. So this can be used for the processors which will be reset whenever there is a low input reset signal. Okay. So let us understand how these two circuits work. So in the left hand circuit you can see here there is a combination of R and C which is connected to the VCC. Okay. And here it is the reset signal being generated here. Initially when I power up my circuit embedded system, okay, this capacitor will act as a short circuit. Okay. So this reset signal will be equal to the VCC. So at this point the VCC signal is applied here. The supply has been given to the embedded system. So the output of this reset signal is high signal. Okay. Now as the time passes, the current starts flowing through this C and R and the capacitor goes on charging. So the value of this voltage goes on decreasing. So as you can see here, the value of the reset signal is decreasing. So once this capacitor is fully charged, okay, then the value of the reset signal becomes 0. Okay, as you can see here, it becomes 0. So during this time period from T0 to T1, okay, this is the time up to which the processor is held in a reset state. Okay, so active high reset. During this period, the processor will be reset. Once the signal becomes 0, the processor will start executing from the reset vector. Now if I exchange these values of interchange the value of R and C, as you can see in the right side diagram, it becomes an active low reset signal. This circuit generates an active low reset signal. Okay. So when I give the initial power supply, okay, the capacitor will act as a short circuit. The reset value of the reset pulse will be equal to 0. That it will be connected to ground. Okay. So the output here is usually 0, initially 0. As the time progresses, the current starts flowing through this R and C, the capacitor goes on charging, the value of this reset signal goes on increasing. So from 0, the signal will go on increasing. Okay. So in this way, initially when the supply is given, it will be 0, the value of the reset pulse will be 0. As the time progresses, the reset signal will become from 0 to 1. Okay, so this is how the reset circuits work. The next circuit that will be used by embedded systems is the Brownnode Detector. It is also called as BOD. This Brownnode Detector circuit is mainly used for monitoring the value of the supply voltage in the embedded system. Okay, so in embedded system, sometimes there may be fluctuations in the supply voltage. Okay, this VCC, this is the supply voltage that is given to the processor. Okay, so if the supply voltage becomes less than the minimum threshold value, I should not allow my processor to continue execution of the program, because at that time, when the voltage is less than the minimum threshold voltage, if I allow the processor to continue executing, okay, the memory may be corrupted and some other problem may creep in the hardware. So at that time, I should not allow my processor to continue execution. At that time, I should reset my processor. So this Brownnode detector circuit, it keeps monitoring this VCC value, supply voltage. Okay, so when the value of this supply voltage is greater than this VBE plus this reverse Zener voltage, Vz voltage, okay, then only this transistor will be on. When the transistor is on, that is when the supply voltage is normal, the transistor will be on. Okay, this VCC will be greater than VBE plus Vz. The transistor will be on. When the transistor is on, okay, the value of the signal on this output here, it is equal to VCC. Okay, that will be high value. Suppose due to some fluctuations, if the VCC goes below the minimum threshold voltage, then the transistor is turned off. When the transistor is turned off, this signal will be equal to this ground signal. Okay, so from high, whenever there is any fluctuations in the VCC, if the VCC goes below threshold voltage, minimum threshold voltage, the signal here on the output signal will go from high to low. When the signal becomes here low, the processor will be reset. Then after some time, when the VCC becomes greater than again the minimum threshold voltage, okay, again the transistor starts conducting, then the output on this pin becomes from 0 to 1 again. So the reset condition will be removed by the Brownnode detector circuit. Now we have to choose the value of this Vz such that the processor voltage, if the VCC becomes less than the minimum threshold voltage, then a reset signal is generated by the BOD circuit. Okay, so depending upon the value of this Vz, when this reset signal will be generated depends on this value of this Vz, okay, this Zener rating. Okay. Then one more circuit which is used in case of embedded systems is the Watchdog Timer. So this Watchdog Timer is mainly used for safety purpose. Okay, so as you can see it in the block diagram, okay, so there is an embedded system or also a computer. Okay, instead of embedded systems, we have shown a computer here, and there will be an Watchdog Timer. Okay, so the same clock input is given to computer as well as to the Watchdog Timer. So this Watchdog Timer is nothing but internally it will have a counter, whether it may be up counter or it may be down counter. So let us assume that it is an up counter. Okay, so when I start the computer, at the same time the Watchdog Timer is also started. So this internal counter starts counting from 0. Okay, now for every clock pulse, okay, this counter goes on incrementing by 1. Okay, now before this counter reaches its maximum value, okay, what the computer has to do, at every few seconds or few milliseconds, the computer should reset this Watchdog Timer counter. Okay, the counter has to be reset so that it starts again counting from 0. Okay, so this computer should not allow this counter in the Watchdog Timer to reach its maximum value. Okay, now suppose there is some problem in the execution of the computer, the program is stuck here in the computer, then at that time the computer will not be able to reset this timer in the Watchdog, the counter in the Watchdog Timer. At that time, what will happen, for every clock pulse, this counter goes on incrementing. When it reaches its maximum value, okay, since the computer is not responding, okay, what this fellow will do, Watchdog Timer, immediately it will time out and it will generate a reset signal. So this computer will be restarted again automatically. Okay, so this Watchdog Timer is mainly used for safety purpose, to safeguard against any situation such as the infinite loop. Okay, so this can be used in an embedded system. Some of the embedded systems will have a built-in Watchdog Timer. Okay, we can use that. Or if there is no built-in Watchdog Timer, external Watchdog Timer ICs are available. We can use them in the embedded systems. Then embedded systems, okay, they will contain what? Microprocessor or microcontroller. This microprocessor or microcontrollers, they need an oscillator to function, to generate the clock pulse. Okay, so this oscillator unit in a microprocessor or a microcontroller, it is analogous to the human heart. So as in human body, the heart generates the heartbeats. Similarly, the clock pulses will be generated by this oscillator circuit in the microcontroller or microprocessor. Some of the processors will have the built-in oscillator circuit. Some of them will not have built-in oscillator circuit. At that time, you have to connect external oscillator ICs to the processor. Okay. So as you can see here, the microcontroller has a built-in oscillator circuit. In order to make use of this oscillator circuit, to generate the clock pulses, we should connect an external crystal resonator, okay, to the two inputs of the oscillator. Okay, so resonator has been connected here, so that this oscillator can generate the clock pulses. Okay, so the oscillator circuit is very important for the functioning of the microcontroller or the microprocessor, so that it can generate the clock pulses. And also the accuracy of the program execution in case of an embedded system, it depends on the accuracy of the clock that is generated by the oscillator. Okay, so the accuracy of this oscillator is usually expressed in terms of parts per million, okay, ppm. And one more circuit that is usually present in an embedded system is real-time clock. This is also called as RTC. Okay, so this real-time clock, it maintains date and time. Okay, so date means it will maintain what is the day of the week, what is the day of the month, what is the day of the year, month of the year, and also what is the week of the year. Okay, so all these values will be automatically maintained in the real-time clock. And also this RTC, it maintains the time also. It gives me what is the value of hour now, what is the value of minutes, what is the value of seconds. Okay, so where can you use this RTC? For example, I have the air conditioner and I want to set an on time. After 2 hours, I want my AC to be turned on. So I want to set the on time. So for that, I need a reference time. So at that time, I can use this time to set the on time or the off time in an air conditioner. So for that purpose, we can use the real-time clock. Okay, so just remember, this real-time clock will maintain the date and time in an embedded system. Okay, thank you.